Hello friends, good morning and welcome back to Nidhi classes. Here we are going to complete our chapter of international business. That's a very important chapter for the UGC NET exams. And here in this video we are going to study about the institutions that are set up for the promotion of foreign trade. Before starting the video, I just like to tell you that whatever the notes we are providing you here, it's like taken from many references and we have tried our best कि हम आपको जो भी provide करें that should be the best and in a very simple manner. Okay, so let's start it. The first topic is Export and Import Bank of India, and in short form we can write it as EXIM. It was popularly known as the EXIM Bank and was set up in 1982. Now, this is the principal financial institution in India for all the foreign and international trade. Earlier, it was a branch of IDBI, and what is the work that it do mainly? It provides financial and other assistance to the importers and exporters of the country. It helps all those. Then it oversees and coordinates the working of the other institutions that work in the import-export sector. मतलब mainly it just looks after whatever the work is going on and it assists the importers and exporters financially. Its aim is to promote foreign trade activities in the country and it helps to whatever extent it can do to the people, to do to the importer and exporters of the country. Now the next institution that we have is Export Credit and Guarantee Corporation, that we can know as the EGCG. Now this was set up in 1964 and what does it do mainly? As it's clear from the name, it is giving guarantee and credit to the exporters. Okay, so this was set up in 1964 and this is the 7th largest credit insurer of the world. Now the functions of this corporation is, firstly, it offers insurance protection to exporters against payment risk. If there is any risk for their payment, then it provides the insurance for that, and it provides information on credit worthiness of overseas buyers. It means it just looks after that whatever the importers, the exporter is going to import its goods, then what is the credit worthiness, it helps the exporters in finding on that. It assists exporters in recovering the bad debts. Now, what are the risk it is covering in its insurance? Firstly is the political risk, then we have the commercial risk and other also we have. So first we will read about the political risk. Firstly, if there is any import restrictions, then it helps to cover up that one. Then if you have any war, civil war or revolution that is going on in the country, then it provides an insurance against that. Then if the exporter has to pay additional freight or insurance charges, if any other causes there dating to the importing country, so it covers all those risks. Now we come on the commercial risk. In commercial risk, we have the insolvency of the buyer. Suppose we have earlier studied also that if it provides the information about the credit worthiness and it helps to recover the bad debts also. So if the buyer has become insolvent, the importer has become insolvent, then it's going to help the exporter for that. Protected default of the buyer. If the buyer is doing default for a very long period of time, then it gives guarantee against that one. Now buyer's failure to accept the goods. If the buyer is not ready to accept the goods, he is not able to accept the goods, then also this risk is also covered by this corporation. Now third one is letter of credit opening bank's risk. The bank who has opened the letter of credit, if there is any risk related to the bank. The first one is insolvency of the letter credit opening bank. The bank has itself become insolvent, or the bank is not able to make payment due within a specified period, or it is not paying it or not accepting it because there is any problem in the letter of credit. So in all these cases, this EGCG is going to help the exporters. Now there are certain risks which it doesn't cover. Firstly is that the risk of loss due to commercial quality disputes. If there is any problem related to the quality of the goods that are exported, then in that case EGCG is not going to do anything. Insolvency or default of any agent of the exporter or the collecting bank. If any problem is there in the part of the importer, then this corporation is going to help us. But if there is any problem on the side of the exporter, then this risk is not covered by this corporation. Then if there is any loss or damage to the goods which can be covered by the general insurance, if it's covered by the general insurance company, then it doesn't cover that one. If there is an exchange rate fluctuation, or if the exporter is failing to fulfill the terms of the contract, or negligence on his part, if he is doing any negligence, then that risk is not covered by this. Now what are the policies, ESG policies? We are studying it for the exporters, for the banks, and what are the special schemes for that. For the exporters, construction work policy, now specific services policy, letter of credit, and IT enabled services policy. These all policies the EGCG is giving. Now for the banks, if it's a packing credit guarantee, then post shipment credit guarantee. Post shipment means after the shipment has been done, then after that. Now export production finance guarantee for producing the goods for the export purpose. Now the export performance guarantee, and finally the export finance overseas lending guarantee. The special schemes are the buyer's credit covers, then the line of credit cover, and the overseas investment insurance. These are the special schemes that the EGCG is providing us. Now the most important thing is that quality of this corporation is that it pays 80% to 90% of the loss incurred by the exporter, and only the remaining 10% has to be covered by the exporter. Otherwise 80% 90% this EGCG is helping us to cover. The next corporation that we do have is the State Trading Corporation, that's known as the STC, and this was set up in May 1956. Now this helps us to explore new markets for existing as well as the new products, and it is mainly helping us to promote exporters difficult to sell items, the items which are very difficult to sell, the items for which the exporters doesn't get any market. So this corporation helps us to promote those exports. And promotion of long-term export operations to diversify and increase India's export trade. Now to undertake imports and the internal distribution of commodities in short supply. The commodities which are in short supply, the commodity which doesn't have a very ready market. So in all these cases, the State Trading Corporation helps us to promote the foreign trade in that case. Okay, now the next one that we do have is the Minerals and Metals Trading Corporation of India, MMTC, as is very clear from the name that this is mainly concerned for the mineral ores, or for these iron ores and bimetal ore. It is dealing in all this. So now this was set up in 1963, and the function of this was to develop the export of mineral ores, to provide facilities in the promotion of trade in minerals and ores. Okay, now the various items which it deals in are iron ores, bimetal ore, now sillimanite, barytes, and coal and coke. So these all are the ores and minerals in which it deals mainly, and it helps the exporters and the importers to export and import, means to do the foreign trade in the mineral ores and all these things. Okay, now the next topic that we do have is documents used in import trade. In the earlier classes we had done about the various steps that are done in the export trade. We have read about it in very detail. So same the export steps also, import steps also we do have, but here we are just going to do some very important documents that we are using it. It of course are very technical terms that we need to understand, what are they and how we are going to use it in our import trade. So first one is the import license. Import license is a document issued by the national government authorizing the importation of certain goods. Earlier we will study about the export license. Similarly, for the importers, they have to take an import license, and these are considered to be the non-tariff barriers to trade. Means you don't have to pay tariff, you don't have to pay money in this, but of course it's a barrier to trade, because for trading, for importing something, you need to take the license. Now license specifies the volume of imports allowed, and the total volume allowed should not exceed the quota that is given in the license. Second one is the advice note. Advice note is a document that is sent to a purchaser of goods to inform him that the goods have been dispatched. After the goods have been dispatched, the advice note is sent to the importer. Then advice note also indicates the probable date on which the ship is expected to reach. Okay, now third one is the bill of entry. This bill of entry is a form filled by the importer. It contains the name and address of the importer. It contains all details, the name and address, then the name of the said packages, then the number marks, the quantity, the value, the country from where it is importing, and the custom duty that you have to pay. All the details are written in the bill of entry. Now this bill of entry can be of three types. It can be of black color, it can be of blue color, and can be of violet color. If it is of black color, it means that it is a non-dutiable goods. If it is a blue color, then it means that these goods which is imported are going to be sold within the country only. And if it is of violet color, it means that it's meant for the re-export. Now the next point that we do have is the bill of site. If the importer is not in a position to supply the details of goods that we have studied here in the bill of entry, because we don't have sufficient information, so here in that case the importer can prepare the bill of site. The next one that we do have is the dock challan. It is a proof of payment of dock charge in the import trade. In the import trade, the importer has to pay some dock charges. So when he has paid it, he can get the dock challan. Now dock warranty is certified that the holder is entitled to goods imported. The goods whatever is imported, he is entitled to that, and he is warehousing it. So these all the points. These all are the documents that we have to use in the import trade. And here was this international chapter, international business chapter is finished. And if you have seen the whole video and if you have understood the whole concept, please make sure to like and subscribe the video. Thanks a lot.